next time, 24.
Okay, it is 6:00 p.m. on September 11, 2024. I call the Beecher September regular board meeting to order. Noting the absence of Stacy Masrick, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we do have a public comment from Mr. Pena.
I'm up.
Yep, you're up.
Alright, quick. Solo Pena, live out on South Fleming. That's Pina. I don't know when I was putting in the paper last time. But, I know it was, back in June, I think it was, I addressed a school board meeting about liaisons and about Team Pat getting one. I mean, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I haven't heard anything since, and I understand that this is public comment, not public question and answer. But I would think out of common courtesy that I would have heard something by now. Whether or not the board wants to address it, consider it, and if not, I mean, I think it'd be appropriate that there be a good reason why. This program has been in this town for 20 years, and I don't think there's any other program that's been here that long benefiting our youth. You know, Sensei Juan has been here, well, he graduated from here. I don't remember what year, but I think these kids deserve it. They work very hard, just like all the other kids. If it's something the board doesn't want to consider, I think that the board should address it and say why. Like I said, many kids benefited from this program. And I know some board members' kids have benefited from this program. So if it's something they don't want to consider, I think it would be at least common courtesy to say why. That's all I gotta say.
Okay.
Well, if I can comment, my
we'll-
kids, oh, sorry,
I just figured when we went to committee updates, we'd address it.
God.
That works.
Perfect. Yeah, that's a good time for it.
So we're doing budget presentation.
Or, in case you're wondering, well, yes, this is the exact same slideshow I gave you last year with new numbers. So, why reinvent the wheel? So, your FY '25 budget. So here's a little recap of FY '24. You guys did do an amended budget last year. Last year at this time, we budgeted a revenue of 15.63, and your actual revenue last year was 17.38. That is an increase over the projected to actual by 1.75. I promise you I'll address why that is such a significant number by the end of the slides. Your 24 expenditures were budgeted to be 15.93, and even with the first payment to GRP, your budget was actually $16 million. So you only increased the budget by $80,000, even though you added a $500,000 project in FY '24. So those are good things. All those good things meant, believe it or not, you had a projected $414,000 deficit walking into last year, and you actually ended up with a $1.37 million surplus. Now, why did you have a surplus? It's primarily the referendum money. Remember, when the referendum was passed, it didn't take effect until the following tax year, and those taxes don't start getting sent to us until June and July. So when you project, or when you do these, you don't actually know when they're going to give you that amount of money at any given time. So when we actually did the amended budget, we still didn't have that in the bank sitting with us. Once you close out the year, and we actually had those three first initial payments, that pushed us into the red, or into the black, which is a phenomenal thing. And one of those payments for the HVAC, because of the deadline where it fell into FY '25, not FY '24. So those two things is why it got you in the black. But again, that's phenomenal. You went from a $400,000 deficit through the referendum, and again, fiscally responsible spending. You actually had a surplus last year. So your Beecher index went from 8.948 on the last fiscal day of the year to 12.459. That also includes the bond, so please note that the $2 million in the bond is sitting in the bank right now, and that will be spent over the next few months. So what does 25 look like? So we're budgeting, we're expecting around 17.8 million. That's about a $400,000 increase from last year. Now, I just told you referendum money's coming in, that should be a lot more than what we're expecting. Two significant drops in revenue happened and it's nothing to do with us. Our Title I, 4, and 2 grant money is down by about $100,000. That normally will have some kind of rollover throughout the year, and when that rollover happens, that will become part of that revenue. That's where your revenue can change. And what we'll do is we basically reallocate some of the funds that we are expending now to be covered by title grants, primarily Joe's coming for something.
Just turn off like monitor.
Primarily, like the Title IV we're using for the SRO program, the Title II we're using to cover the extra fifth grade teacher, portions of their salaries. Then Title I, the first primary portion of it is Ms. Oppenheis's salary and benefits, but then we also have some homeless transportation and so on and so forth for Title I. So all those things we already spend money on, it just gets reallocated. So you'll see a little bit more in revenue. Expenditures, we're budgeting 18.5. Last year was at 16.1. And again, remember, you have the roof, the tile, the HVAC, the SOIC payments. So that's why that looks like it's such a massive amount of money there, because of those projects. When they're done in the summer, they don't get paid. They don't get paid until after the summer's done, which is your new fiscal year. So my predicted results, as I said, last year was the $1.37 million surplus. So we're going to project about a $730,000 deficit. I told you guys that last board meeting, and I actually think I also said in the facilities meeting as well, that there was going to be a deficit this year because of those major projects happening in FY24 but being paid for in FY25. And those specific projects are right here. Your HVAC is 1.2, your SOIC payment, these are one-time payments, was 286, your roof was 168, the tiling was 172, and then the math curriculum that you guys adopted was 210. So totaling around $2 million in one-time big expenditures because of the projects you did. And if you remember, the bond that you guys received was $2.1 million, and so the HVAC, roof, and tile all come out of that. There's also, remember, there's a $600,000 payment on HVAC that happened last year. So with all that projecting, we go from 12.45 to 11.79. I'm sorry, 11.729. We're getting back to where we were in 21, 22. So if you see, we had that little dip and we're recovering very nicely. And then to give you some perspective, our EBF this year was $4.2 million. It was up $400,000 from last year. We are still a Tier 1 school. That means our funding is still below 72% of adequacy. Now, with the referendum and the full levy year, I do expect us to go to Tier 2. But even with EBF, we should still see more money than the 4.2 next year. But your reserves have 11.8. Your EBF is 4.2. That gives you about 2.5 years of reserves to state funding, which is, if something catastrophic happened and the state dried up and gave you no more money, you could still survive 2.5 years at the pace you're going. I also forgot to mention the other major revenue downturn. CPPRT was down another 30%. Now, I was projecting about a 20% drop, not 30%. We're still getting 339,000, I believe is the number. It's still covering the bond, so that's not a big concern. And they do believe that it has flatlined, so we should not see a decrease again. For reference, last year we had 400 and some change. Year before that we had 600 and some change. Year before that we had 700,000 and change. So a lot of that was companies' corporate taxes. They had ESSER money. They were front-loading all these taxes. As much as I respect the state of Illinois and their wonderful fiscal responsibility, they didn't correctly appropriate some of those funds. They overpaid school districts, and so instead of asking for the money back, they just cut the amount you got. But if you were to go back, I think 6-7 years, your CPPRT was around $350,000 at that time. So you're back to where you were at that time. So that's everything. And again, with the $2 million in expenditures, and as I said at the facilities meeting and the meeting prior, and Mr. Pena, I know what it feels like to be misquoted in a newspaper. I never said that there was a $1.5 million surplus. I never said that. You can watch the camera, you can fact check me, ABC. But I did say, if these projects didn't happen, it's true, if the projects didn't happen, you would have $2 million extra you wouldn't be spending on, you would have seen a surplus this year. So next year, I don't see any, there's not HVAC, there's not roofs to do, there's not, well, there might be some tiling to do. So you will see that. Also, again, remember with levies that happened in December, your levy goes up by CPI. So even when I project a revenue of 17.8, there's a high likelihood, again, I can't tell you for a fact because it's not in our pockets, but because of the levy will probably go up by 1% or 2%, or whatever CPI happens to be 3%, that you should see that additional June, July 1st installment of your taxes be a little bit more, which means that we'll close that deficit down from 730. I would be very happy if at the end of the year I come and tell you that the deficit was actually 350, because again, we watch our spending. Kind of like it's obviously a lot bigger budget than homeowners, but you plan for the worst, you hope for the best, and then throughout the year you kind of manage your spending. And so that's where we're at. And I will put this, like I have in years past, I'll make sure this goes up on the website.
Does anyone have any questions or comments or anything? No? Good to go. I don't have any public comments for that, so I can move on. So next up is our approval of board minutes. So I need a motion to approve the regular board meeting minutes of August 14th, 2024, and the facilities committee meeting minutes of August 22nd, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Bell.
Yes.
Flores.
Yes.
Flickman. Yes. DeChenko.
Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
Harmon.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Next up, I need a motion to approve the executive session board minutes of August 14th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Flores.
Yes.
Flickman. Yes. DeChenko.
Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
Harmon.
Yes.
Bell.
Yes.
Motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the September 2024 expenses as submitted.
So moved.
Second.
Flickman. Yes. DeChenko.
Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
Harmon.
Yes.
Bell.
Yes.
Flores. Yes. Motion carries.
Our treasurer, I believe, is still on vacation, so Dr.
In all
Gahan.
fairness, it was not vacation,
No.
it was a conference.
Oh, okay.
I just don't want him to think that we're accusing him of taking vacation, it was a conference.
And my conference at the end of the month is not a vacation either.
So Dr. Gaham is going to present our treasurer's report.
I am. I'm not as eloquent as Mr. Peters, but by law, I do have to read into the accounts, everything on the top of the operating funds. You have all those. The balance as of right now is $10,206,335.64. In the actual accounts, the education fund has $5,410,012.81. The building fund has $2,093,201.24. That will be going down very quickly. Bond and interest is $91,296.10. Transportation fund is $1.165,961.04. IRMIF and FICA is $142,743.64. We have no money in our site construction. Our working cash is $320,370.15. Tort fund is $405,173.84. Life safety is $574.82, and then our superintendent account is at $24,560.94. That rate is at 4.68. On the back end, you'll see that we had another state aid, a lunch program deposit, title money coming in, and then our fifth real estate distribution of $273,987.70. I believe he also says the investments are in the back. That
No
sounds
bill.
like- Oh, there is no special milk. I actually, sorry. The milk is no longer special. It's normal.
Okay, I need a motion to approve the treasurer's report as presented.
So moved.
Second. DeChenko? Yes. Hanson?
Yes.
Herman?
Yes.
Belt?
Yes.
Flores?
Yes.
Blickman? Yes. Motion carries.
Next up are the staff reports. First up, Ms. Black.
Good evening, everyone. I don't have a whole lot to point out from my report. I did want to say a lot of what we've been doing at the beginning of the school year besides welcoming all the students. We've been spending time benchmarking and making win groups, looking at our data, and we've started those groups depending on the grade level when they were ready. Some started last week. First grade will be our last group, and we'll be starting with the win groups next week. We actually did some really great training today. I don't know if anyone else is going to talk about it, but we did that CPI training today throughout the district, which was really great to kind of learn and hear lots of great de-escalation techniques. There were quite a few staff members from each building who were part of that training today. So lots of great discussions on how we can best de-escalate students and not be in a place where anyone is, causing harm or anything like that. So it was really good. It was great for all of us to be together, which doesn't happen a whole lot. And again, have some good discussions about students and things we can do to help them. Does anyone have any questions?
Could you show us on Mr. Meyer what you have to do?
In fact, the first year that we went.
Here we go. Here we go.
Safe hold, let's go.
I mean, the very end of it, like most of it is de-escalation techniques, but they also talk about if you need to restrain students, how you can safely do that. And the first year we went, we were at the Solar location, and I'm not sure if everyone is familiar with Mr.
Jacob?
Yes, Mr. Jacobs. He is very tall, about as tall as Mr. Meyer, and larger, like he's a big guy like Mr. Myers. And the three of us were in a group where we had to, at one point I had to practice holding and like getting out of hold with Mr. Meyer and Mr. Jacobs, which is great. So today I was working with Mrs. Compton and Dr. Faulkner was part of our group at one point, so it was a little bit.
the large gentleman in my group.
Yes, Larry Switch, yes, so it was a little bit easier this time. And a lot less embarrassing, because anytime you're not with Mr. Meyer in a group, it's much less embarrassing.
That's good. That's good.
All right, thank you.
Dr. Quasny.
Good evening. First, I wanted to thank a couple people. I wanted to thank the Beecher Fire Department. They helped participate in our first fire drill that we had recently. So it's always great to have them and have their perspective and just assist and make sure that we are doing everything we should be doing to make sure that we exit the students safely. I also wanted to thank everyone, including the community, for supporting our Little Caesars fundraiser. The pickup will be later this month, and it did really well, so we just wanted to thank everyone for that. In terms of curriculum, we had our math training yesterday. It was our second training, so it was a half day, and it was really valuable. There's a lot of information and great features and toolkits in the new math curriculum, and it's great, but we really needed somebody to help us dive a little bit deeper into it. So they went over all the different components, design, structure. It's kind of like that part 2 for the training, all the different features and elements. And there's a lot in the toolkit that I don't think that we were really aware of. And then just kind of showing how to navigate through that toolkit and then back to the student resources. How does the teacher version look? How does it look for the students and the parents? So it was really nice to have the rep walk us through that. And then we also talked to him beforehand and kind of came up with a list of questions, everything that we wanted him to cover, now that the teachers have had a little time to work with it already. So he made sure that he focused on that. So the teachers felt that it was really beneficial. The differentiation pieces, I think, were kind of the highlight. And it's not just for students who have IEPs and 504s, it's for all of our tier 1, 2, and 3 students as well. So I think that was really a valuable professional development that we had. And at this point, I think, there's a lot to take in, and we'll see how it goes. And hopefully, we won't need any more training, but if that does end up happening, that we would like some more, of course, we'll request that. But that was, like I said, went really well. One other thing I wanted to mention is that we wanted to also thank SRO Hansen. He came into our health classes this quarter, and he talked about decision-making, the decision-making process, social-emotional learning, avoiding peer pressure, and then setting short-term and long-term goals. And just to have him in, the classes, interacting with the kids. We have a new health teacher, of course, this is Mr. Palin, so I think having them work together was great too. So always like having him work with the students, so we wanted to thank him as well. Anyone have any questions? Thank you.
Mr. Meyer.
Oh,
You can put this on Nick's wall up in his room
Yes,
somewhere.
yes.
we'll give him a parking space at home now.
There
Thank
you go, there you go. Speaking of the community, I'd like to first say, one of the things that Dr. Gaham and I know he has sent out more than I have, but we really like to say the drive on the west side of our building is one way. So from the south to the north, from Hodges to Miller, we really appreciate the parents, the grandparents, the kids to drive the correct way. So north from Hodges on our drive. Again, it's about safety. We've asked before, we're going to continue to ask, but we really appreciate your cooperation in that effort. And I know sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not great. And, we even have a custodian sometimes that wants to peel out one way or, to go to the elementary. And I get it, it is closer, but again, it's about safety. So just trying to say please and thank you with our drive.
And that drive's not getting fixed till next summer?
So it's supposed to be so good next summer, we'll do indoor parking next year.
Okay.
Yep.
I knew that's what we decided, but I'm
Yep,
assuming.
we'll go back to
Yeah,
indoor
it's,
parking.
yeah, it's a
With
pretty good
our pothole too.
chunk on the north, so yeah, it's not ideal. Yeah.
I'll mention that as well.
Look at that, perfect, thank you. I just wanted to.
It's okay, I just swerve around it every day.
And for the most part, the buses can do a pretty good
Yeah.
job too.
As long as no one's, I guess, parked over there, that'd be the.
Yeah, it's not a terrible location,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's very large. And I know in January, we talk about our test scores, but I do want to say some things about our AP, because sometimes our test scores in January aren't maybe as positive as some of these things. Looking at page 2, I talk about the AP Scholar, our AP Scholar with honors, and our AP Scholar with distinction. Those will be on a plaque outside of this room. But in general, I truly appreciate our AP teachers and what they're doing, and I just want to throw out some, not everything's not, phenomenal, but our AP Bio, out of 10 kids, 7 of them got 3, 4, or a 5. AP Calc, out of 9, 4 of them got a 3, 4, or 5. AP Language, out of 12, 10 of them got a 3, 4, or 5. Lit, out of 11 of them, 10 got 3, 4, or 5. Physics, 7 out of 14, and then U.S. History was 9 out of 14, 3, 4, or 5. So I'm pleased with our classes, I'm pleased with our juniors and seniors, I'm pleased with our staff that push over the summer, that push over breaks, that push those kids. And then finally, again, I know I've talked about that senior class, and I apologize, it's not always going to be like this, but I have 4 seniors that got at least 3 5s out of the tests they took. Ethan Moore got 3 5s. Ethan Palmasano 3 5s. And Matilde just 3 5s. And Hayden Moore got 5 5s out of his AP classes. So again, it's all the teachers, it's all the kids, it's all the parents, it's our community, it's our culture. I hope, I can't always say this, but I'm really proud of these kids and I'm proud of our teachers. So again, I know we're not always great when it comes to maybe our SATs and things like that, but I really truly appreciate it. And our pictures will be out here too when we get those taken care of. So I just wanted to try to start September positively. So anything else from me? Thank you.
Dr. Gaham.
I got a couple things here, my list keeps on growing. First of all, I forgot to mention in the budget presentation, if you look at the actual budget form, there are 3 categories that are in the red, that's why we have a deficit. That's the building fund, obviously, because that has the large expenditures. The IMRF FICA category, again, I told you guys, I think it was 2 years ago when I started levying for that, I was gonna under levy it, simply because that is not an interchangeable category. And so we were gonna start drawing down that just a little bit. And so next year we'll be back into making sure it's covered completely. But that, I think that was at 275 when I first took over all this, so we've kind of brought that down a little bit and reallocated that money to O&M and things like that. And then life safety, I think it's like $3,000 because I don't levy for life safety, but we pay for small things out of there, so that's why that one's in the red. So I want to make sure everybody's aware when they look at it and say, well, why are these in the red? Everything is planned. Secondly, that pothole that is in at the end of the high school drive as you travel from Hodges to Miller, because that's the direction you go from Hodges to Miller, and as you exit the high school drive, which is where you exit, which is on Miller Street, there is a large pothole there. Because the drive is one of the things we're going to get seal coated next year, the drive that goes from Hodges to Miller, I've already given Nate the go-ahead to get a bid, or not a bid, just an estimate and get that repaired now, and then when they seal coat it, they'll just seal coat over that. Plan is to have that done in Columbus Day, I think is what we're looking at. So staff's not here. So that'll get taken care of. I think the number was like 5,200 for that. It's not just that spot, because you look at, there's all the alligator cracks. You actually have to take a substantial hunk out of it. So it's about the size of the one that you guys did at the parking lot out here. So that will be taken care of on that drive that goes from Hodges to Miller. There's a change with Will County and how they do subs. Will County no longer is the primary hiring source of subs. It used to be, if Ms. Gersh wanted to sub in the district, she would go to Will County, they'd fingerprint her, they would hire her, and then we just basically subletted all the subs. Will County is no longer doing that. It is now dependent on every school to hire their own subs. Now, the ones that have already been working for us, Ms. Hewitt and there's a bunch. Mr. Essex, so on and so forth. They've been grandfathered in. They don't have to worry about going through all that rigmarole. But moving forward, if somebody wants to sub at Beecher, they don't have to get fingerprinted by us. The cost of fingerprinting doubled, by the way, according to what we pay now. That's awesome. But they also, if they want to split their time between us and Creed or us and Piatone, they now have to get fingerprinted for us. They have to get fingerprinted for Creed. They have to get fingerprinted for Piatone. And then every one of them have to hire them out. So as you can assume, we're not getting a lot of new subs yet. We're trying to recruit. I know the principals are calling. As soon as somebody puts in an application, they're giving a call and trying our best to get people in here. So just going to give you guys a heads up that that's happening. So when you start seeing a little bit more hires on there, it's going to say as a sub.
And they do the fingerprinting here, they don't have to go to like a state
No,
trooper?
they go to Will County ROE. Is where they get the fingerprinting done.
Which, I mean, like I told you, that's how I did it, Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma. You have to go to a state trooper, they do everything, and.
But in Kansas, there's like 3 schools every like 400 miles.
I liked it. I liked just being for each school, because then I didn't like where if you were open area, like say you want to sub for Beecher, but they're calling you for Crete. And it's like, no, I only want this school, so it wasn't bad, but I guess if you have to pay, like, does the school pay or the person pay?
School covers for
Oh, well then that's even better, because I think I had to pay.
Residency update. I'm making people angry, so you're welcome. I'm the bad guy, and I'm fine with that. Ms. Gersh can verify it. I think we have so far removed, not mentioning how many didn't register because of the new process. We have now removed 2 families so far with the residency. I have another meeting tomorrow with another family. And the part where you guys are going to hear from the community that the superintendent's a mean person is I have asked the police to now persecute and press charges against people who falsify affidavits of residency. So I'm making it abundantly clear from here on forward that Beecher 200U, if you falsify that document, the superintendent will press charges.
Good.
So I've already have the police working on that for me. Once that gets out of our hands, we have nothing to do with that prosecution, but we 100% continue to monitor the residency. Again, guys, I understand this is it's a major topic. It's a major push. I get that. Please know that we are doing a lot, and we're trying our best to continue to make sure that Beecher money continues to pay for Beecher kids. And I get it. I look like I'm a mean person, I look like I don't care. I get it, they're kids, but I respectfully ask for people not to play kids against the school when it's the adults who are making the choices. Adults make these choices, not the kids. I will empathize with the children, I will not kick the kids out of school until I give them that letter that they can no longer go here. But that is on the parent, and that's where the superintendent's a mean guy, I get it. But I'm letting you guys know that is a big movement that's gonna be happening in a district office. So, when you hear it, it's true. And then lastly, unless you want me to wait for the clubs and community groups, I will be presenting to the foundation on the 23rd of September. We had a company who gave us a nice number for a digital sign at the junior high. So we're gonna be asking for, I would ask the board to cover the installation portion of it, which is about $2,000. And then we're asking the foundation to actually buy the sign, similar to what the Booster Club did with the 2 scoreboards. I mean, my hope is that it's a big piece. We actually, on the design, it says, special thanks to the Beecher Education Foundation, that kind of, that one spotlight that we can now say, hey, you know, the Booster Club did that. As much as we appreciate you, Rosetta Stone and Freckle and the things that they've provided, if I'm driving down the street, I'm okay. I mean, I appreciate it. As the superintendent, I love it. But as a community member, if I'm donating money, I don't see it. I can drive down the street and I can see a big 3-foot colored digital sign that says, you know, Dr. Kwasny, Principal of the Year, kind of thing.
Did you nominate her?
Self-nomination, I believe. So, along with that, I met with another young man today to start, again, please, and I've said this a lot of times, and if I continue to say it, it's not that I think you guys are challenging it. We got the big projects done. We did. We've done a heck of a job. Heck of a job getting through all of that, and we're coming out the other side in the black, and it's fantastic. So the next step is to now make it, I don't want to say pretty, but we went from making it usable to now making it reasonable. So I met with a gentleman today who is going to give me some quotes on some stickers for the like some security blinds for the windows, some vinyl covering for the windows, some locker things for the high school, new pads for the gym, just kind of going out there and say, all right, now that we have things fixed, how can we start showing pride? And that's the next step. I mean, you guys have said it, I agree. They've been run down. And it's very difficult to put lipstick on a pig. We had to buy a whole doggone new pig, but now we have that new pig. I promise I'm gonna find some lipstick at a reasonable price and start putting that lipstick on there. Maybe even upgrade to a sour, I don't know. I'm not a big farmer, but. So that's kind of the big things that have been going on. So over the next few months, as we start looking at projects over the next summer and things like that, I'm super excited to start taking some pride in what we have here.
Is that it?
I hope so.
Okay, so.
Oh, no.
See?
4 FOIAs. We had 4 FOIAs last month. All of them primarily for informational purposes from the newspaper. I forget which one it was. So sorry. Yeah, all were satisfied. Almost violated that one.
Next is the committee updates, which we kind of went over when we added liaisons. We went over, but we'll kind of do it again since we had our public comment inquiry and stuff like that. The adding of the liaisons was kind of an initiative that I did as board president to try to, one of the things we wanted to work on was kind of bridging community, I guess, interaction and support, and it's kind of something that Gaham works on too as part of his evaluation process. So we have a couple clubs, community things that we are automatically a part of, such as the Beecher Education Foundation, CARVS, and the Chamber of Commerce. So we've always done those, but to make it a little more even and fair, I kind of talked to Dr. Gaham and I said, what about if every person on the board gets something? and we kind of tried to brainstorm and talk about things that affect the most children of the district, like the youth commission, the PTO, the booster club, and things of those. No, they do not cover everything. I mean, there's the Lions Club, there's the Women's Club, there's tons of things that are in the community that aren't covered. But it was just something to kind of try and see how it went. They would go kind of how board president, board secretary, those jobs, they change every 2 years. So that would be something in April when my presidency is up. If the next president that gets voted in wants to continue it or not continue it, or change anything, that would be when it would happen. So I'm hoping that answers kind of everything. Like I said, we did kind of go over that when we first did it, but that was a year ago, so. So start this way, move on. Do you have anything besides what kind of Dr. Bame already talked about for the Beecher Education Foundation?
Well, they did participate in the Lions Club / AMVETS All-American Day over the weekend, so that was something that they were out in the community doing. And they are still working on their plans for their dinner, and next meeting is in a couple of weeks, so I should have another update next month.
They were doing raffle tickets, I think, right?
Yes, selling raffle tickets. Yep.
Carbs I always like when I go to some of the meetings I don't plan on going to, and I go. They added last year the diesel tech. That was kind of a new program, and they talked about this time they are in the process, in the works of adding aviation and working out of the airfield in Kankakee and offering that to students. They are hoping to start next year. They're working out if it's going to have additional fees like cosmetology does, because you do have to pay for the flight instructor. But it's not just like a flight school, but it's also talking about the different jobs in aviation, such as working and mechanics and stuff like that too. They're still working out some of the kinks. They did a presentation on it, but they do have to be like 18 to kind of start the process for applying for the license and stuff. But being able to cut that $100,000 it takes to do that process, to make it so much and kind of introduce and get your foot in the door, I can't wait. My kid's gonna do it. I don't care what the cost is. I told him that, and he's really excited about it. So it would be kind of like the cosmetology thing. It'd kind of be a 2-year program too. They're also going to try to kind of work out if they can work out where they get dual credit, because most of the classes at KACC they do get college credit for at the end of their thing. It may not be as many as Prairie State, but they do transfer some over. But like I said, it's all in the works, and the hope is they talked about maybe doing a summer course if available, if they have that kind of started. But if not, next year that junior class would be the first to kind of go through and see how it all works out. Anything else? That was like the big part.
I just want to say, 'cause I've sat on the board with KCC now for going on 4 years. As a principal, the work that Matt Kelly does and Tim Guerin does with our kids, and I think Mike would agree, is second to none. Mike just told you about kids who got AP scores. They're going to go to college. They're going to do something in terms of that. We now have 70 other kids who are going to KCC who are finding their way in their field, and it may not be college. That's okay, and that's something I stressed when I was a principal here, and I'll continue to stress as a superintendent. Our goal in Beecher Trinity U is to find that kid's way in life. It's not. I know it's unpopular. It's not going to be college. Some kids, it's college. I went to college. Some kids, it's college. Some kids, it's not, and that's okay. And KCC does a phenomenal job, not only of finding things, but finding new things for kids to try out. Diesel mechanic, flipping pilots. They're going to start getting pilots. I mean, that's insane. I think it's a way for Matt Kelly to get a plane, but I can't prove it. But I just want to say, from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate everything that they do. Tim Guerin. And,
I am always surprised every year how much they can still add and try to do their budget and try to change and try to make it like, I would have never thought aviation. Like when they brought that up, I was like, what? That's it. I think that would be very cool. And I tried for, is it Bolt Field that's closest to us?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. They really want Bolt Field, but doing all of the kids transferring and stuff like that, and it's so far away. I'm like, is that far away from us? So it'll probably be in Kankakee, just because from Watseka to here is a big difference. We are the farthest away from Kankakee. Everyone else is pretty closer anyway of how it works. But that's something where we also talked about if they have to be bused to the airfield and stuff like that, since we already have like a bus sitting there, maybe that's something where like we could contract it out, we get a discount or something as a school district. But those are all little things that'll be worked out within the year. Next is chamber.
Chamber had a meeting, but there weren't enough people, so nothing was done. The president, Mike Waterman, resigned.
The new one? New? Was he just, or no?
No,
Oh.
well, I think he was there a year,
Oh, okay.
but he resigned. So the vice president is taking over for a while. The golf outing is coming up the
20th. Next Friday.
And you do not have to golf.
Oh.
Dinner is at 5.
I think the responsibility of the superintendent is to golf. I think that's,
Right.
I will bite the bullet and take one for the team on this one.
Oh, man, thank you.
I just want to know if there's going to be chicken chucking again.
There's not. There's not. You know what, you missed out because since then, we've gotten trophies. So maybe I'll have to bring one in retroactive.
So much for returning champs.
How we won.
We did win it. We didn't get a trophy. I got a piece of paper in my car.
And they're working on the Christmas lighting will be December 1st. And the trees along Route 1, it has started. The school district gets one free tree, so whoever would like to decorate it.
Have to come up with a theme.
And for the team.
Elementary always does a great job, or Spanish club.
Yeah. I think you did Spanish club. I think drama club did one.
Yes, you do a good job, right?
And that's about it.
Basketball, we did one.
Yep.
Okay, next is the booster club.
We're meeting soon again. And I don't know if I said it last month, but they due to the Golden Brew, they did a fundraiser where they gave back so much the first day of school, the first days when we had open house at elementary, which was really nice of them to support the school. Just follow us on Facebook. There will be announcing any future activities, but if people want a Bobcat Pride sign, you can purchase one for $20 with a steak. I think that's it. So.
A ribeye or a T-bone or? 20 bucks for a steak?
It's orange.
The sign state.
Sorry, I'm hungry.
Okay, and then the PTO.
They had the mom fundraiser today, and that's all I've got right now. We have a lot of stuff coming up, but I don't have my notes with me.
And youth commission, I know they're doing like a farm,
Yes, that's the.
and it's full. It's coming up, so sorry if you didn't get in, sorry about you. Are they also doing the bike ride?
Yes, that's this
That's-
Friday.
Yeah, this Friday is the bike ride and the upcoming, farm thing, and that's all I've seen, I think they're doing so far. So I'm sure in November they'll come with something, they tend to do them every other month or so, I'm sure they'll have something coming up with that. Okay. Oh, and I skipped scholarship committee, because I'm sure you haven't met yet.
Yes, no, I think October is
Yeah.
around the time we meet.
Yeah. Okay, so next up is old business. So we have the second reading, so I need a motion to approve the second reading of Press Plus Policy 114 and 115.
So moved.
Second.
Hanson.
Yes.
Herman.
Yes.
Belt.
Yes.
Forrest.
Yes.
Flickman. Yes. Pachenko.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Ms. Bell, just so you know, the end of the month when I'm down in Springfield, I plan on attending a session on, just to make sure there's not, they always do a press update. Before we do a policy committee, I'll reach out to Mrs. Mazurek as well, to make sure there's nothing in 116 that, I don't see there's anything that's
Okay.
controversial like I thought there could have been, but I want to make sure that there's nothing that is hidden, so.
Okay.
After that, I'll reach out to Mrs. Mazurek.
And get
for
that.
the
Okay.
policy.
I don't have a reason. Does anyone think of any reason for an executive session? If you want to take a look at any of the new business and see if any of that, any employment or anything like that needs to be discussed. No? No? Okay, skipping over that one. So we're moving on to new business. Are there any employment issues that need to be addressed individually out of the group in A? No? Okay, then I'm gonna move on. I need a motion to approve the employment of Ann Jacob as full-time bus driver, Amanda Higgison as a full-time bus monitor, Robert Pike,
Hipke.
Okay, hey, it's just how I thought. As junior high soccer coach, Lindsay Kokas as junior high cheerleading coach, and to acknowledge the resignation of Martin Giannotti as the junior high assistant track coach.
So moved.
Second.
Herman.
Yes.
Belt.
Yes.
Flores.
Yes.
Flickling. Yes. Pachenko.
Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next up is I need a motion to approve the tadpole retaining wall for the elementary for $10,995. It was discussed at the facilities meeting.
I did talk to Nathan today. Again, we're earmarked to start this weekend. We wanted to make sure there was a formal approval, that way nothing got put in and then not approved. We're gonna talk to tadpoles when they get here. One of the ideas about that railing, instead of just putting an arbitrary railing there, actually maybe building a wall on the, next to the retaining wall here, and then a wall going down the steps with a railing on the side to kind of prohibit kids from going onto the retaining wall. So, again, we gotta get a guesstimate on price, but kind of add to the beautification of the project, so. That might be an upcharge a little bit, but.
So do we need to change it to a not to exceed amount? And like up it a little, since that's what it's going to be, like not to exceed $12,000 or something? Would that be more beneficial?
I mean, it'd be a secondary charge and.
Okay, that's fine.
I mean,
That's fine,
guess-
it's covered under that.
It sounds
so-
I have the authority for up
Okay.
to 10, and I hope you guys know I wouldn't spend
Yeah.
10 on it, so it should be all right.
That's why I didn't know if it was gonna be one, but yeah, if it'll be a secondary thing, then that's fine. Okay, motion is on the floor.
So moved.
Second. Belt.
Yes.
Flores.
Yes.
Flickling. Yes. Pachenko.
Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
Herman.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next up is what was discussed at the facilities committee also. The resolution of the property at Miller and Racine.
So after, if I may, after the facilities meeting, I reached out to Mr. Gleason and say, hey, you know, we do have somebody who's interested in the property as a school district, because I've obviously never sold property as a school district, and I don't think you guys have ever sold property as a school district, now I look at it. I said, Bill, what do we gotta do? And so it's not as simple as throwing a stake in there and saying, hey, go ahead and sell it. It's a process. So, Bill gave you a kind of a temporary, thank you, a template resolution that you would have to approve. And then once you approve that resolution, what's included on that is the minimum bid price. He did say it's either a bid or an auction. I would strongly urge the bid process. You can still do a lower amount with an auction. You can still have a base amount with an auction, but an auction is one day. Like you're there or you're not there. With a bid, it's just like a bid opening when it came to the roofs and everything like that. You publicize it in the newspaper. One of the requirements is you have to publicize it 3 consecutive weeks in your local newspaper. So that would be the vidette, to make sure they're aware. And then what's a little bit different about it is it's now open. So if your minimum bid is what I had Bill put in there, but someone else, because it is in the TIF district, comes in and says, well, we're a corporation, we're gonna get TIF money, we're gonna give you $750,000. Theoretically speaking, you guys don't have to take the $750,000 one. You could take, Solo bid $400,000. He really likes the property. You could take Solo's offer. So Bill did clarify you don't have to take the high bid, but understand that if it's a needed piece and it is in the TIF district, it's valued a little bit higher to some people than others. So that's kind of where he's at, and then you have to sell it you have to have that bid opening within 60 days of when you approve the resolution. So it is not an action item. I've already talked to Ms. Belt about this, because I only am going to ask you guys to make a formal motion on it once I give you a formal resolution to adopt. There's still some things in there. I didn't give you, the legal termination, the legal definition of the property isn't in that template, things like that. There's little things that I would have to engage Bill with and say, hey, Bill, go ahead and put all this in there, so we can go ahead and move forward with it. I would say, because you have a special board meeting on the 24th, which you're already doing two other items, you're doing the budget and the e-learning plan, that's where I would put this resolution on there. So that would be on the 24th, you would approve the resolution. Then I'd have Katie reach out, because she's gonna make the notes now. I'll have Katie reach out to the vedettes. Hey, they might even be watching right now. Have them reach out to the vedette, which puts it in the newspaper, I believe the first Thursday, second Thursday, and third Thursday in October. And then we would probably do a bid opening somewhere in like October 23rd, 24th that week, maybe the week after the 30th, 31st. And so I would then have that bid opening. I would bring the results to you guys in the November board meeting, and then you would get to decide what to do with it. I'm sorry, you would decide what bid. I guess
Well,
you
if
could-
they even met the bid requirement.
Correct, and I guess theoretically you could turn away all the bids as well.
No.
But it's kind of one of those, decision, I mean, it's decision time. I know we kind of, I know in 4 years I've been here, and I know before me, my predecessor, there was a lot of conversation about it. I did find the deed from 1979, it's on a yellow piece of paper, which is awesome. I thought I was looking at the, like, what is that, National Treasure? I thought I was stealing something that's pretty cool. And so it does say, at 30 years, you can't do anything except for school-specific. Obviously, 30 years is 2009, so it's 14 years past the any kind of stipulation that's on it.
Do we need to have a professional appraiser look at it?
No, according to Bill, no. You could put any minimum bid you want. And I know we did a market value a few years ago, and that realtor said that market value is still valid. Matter of fact, I found the market value in 2003, and pretty close to that. So, but if you're uncomfortable with the number you have, we can always bump it a little bit more. So.
Would that, was that market evaluation
Last year.
last year, so it included the TIF district?
Oh, 100%, yep, yep. And it's even, it's a industrial, it's not agriculture because it's in the TIF district. It's not Village of Beecher, it is unincorporated Washington Township. But it's in the Beecher TIF district, so it's kind of a, I don't know what this means. Where are my hands going?
Is the whole thing in the TIF district?
Yes. Yep. But I think the parcels are separated by, I think some is official Washington Township and some of it's unincorporated. When you look at a map, I think there's a small, I think one's 10 acres and the other one's 23. I think is what it is.
That makes it a little harder where we had talked at the facility meeting about, like, you know, if you hang on to it because maybe in 20 years we need the money. That I think kind of changes things because there is no, okay, we need the money, let's list it and see what we can get it sold for. You're gonna do a bid, and when that comes to bid, if the school district needs that money, nobody may wanna buy it. And it's not like this goes, it doesn't get an MLS number, it's nothing like that. It's really where you advertise it, where they see it, which I think also dwindles the amount of people that you get interested in it. Because you can go to the bigger newspapers and everything too, but it's a little different, I think, when it hits MLS and everybody that's looking for any kind of land or anything sees it. And like the other thing we had talked about is it is completely not usable for the school district. Like there's no way we'd ever put a school on it, we'd put a sport complex, it's really doing nothing for it. I mean, I don't know when that conversation comes of, if it does get sold and we end up doing it, like what we earmark that money for, or if we say, or we make a vote on that. I don't know how that works.
It would just go into, I would ask Mittelesco, but it would just go into your operating budget.
Okay.
So you have an extra, probably local revenue through whatever you sold for.
Okay.
So, and then it would be there. So then if you did sell it, and in 3 years you're like, man, we really want 20 acres of land somewhere, even though that wasn't specifically earmarked, hey, that you would still have, we have a surplus. Like I said, last year was 1.37. Oh, it's part of the surplus. You can buy a plot of land for $400,000 to move forward with. mind you, any building you put on there is gonna be 10 to 11 to $12 million.
Yeah.
So that would.
I know, but you know, you always plan for the future. I mean, we don't have a soccer field, like as far as the sporting complex goes. If Beecher does grow, we don't have empty classrooms. So if that were to happen, that is something we would have to, you can't really add on a lot on some of the schools. I know the junior high, we have that little bit of area we could add on top of and stuff, but, land is only going up. And if, I don't know, if we have that money and we can invest it and get it, it's not like it's going to get cheaper down the road. Or it's gonna be open. I also don't wanna we have to build a school and it's 4 miles outside of town because houses have been built between here and there with the farmland. So I do think that that's something we kinda do need to think about, because I do think that's the big thing of being a steward of the board, is to plan for the far out future. Not what's happening this year, this month, but what's happening in 5, 10, 15 years. And try to see that, because as we've seen, those that have lived here 5, 10, 15, 20 years, it is growing. And it's continuing to do so.
I've only been here 7 years and it's exploded since then.
Yeah. And like I said, knowing that we don't have empty classrooms, we do have room in the classrooms, but we don't have a bunch of extra room. If we did get a big influx of kids, you're looking at having to build a building. And that's a lot of money and takes a lot of land.
Well, that was my concern, like if we do sell it, like can we earmark it or put it in some sort of interest earning account so that we can keep building the funds for down the road?
So, that's a great question. So, the investment page that you have, that is money that's actually in, so when Mike reads the bottom portion of your account, you have $5.9 million in ed fund,
Right.
that's still incorporated in the investments. So when you say, can we invest in 350, I mean, yeah, it
Yeah.
would be, we just put $250,000 in the CD.
Okay.
Now, what I will say is, and again, I said this when, what was it we talked about? Earmarking something for the future. I can tell you till the cows come home, yeah, we'll earmark that.
Yeah, but the next
for-"
board can
Yeah,
always,
the
yeah.
next board
Yeah.
might come and tell me, or the next superintendent, you know what, hey,
We got this money.
you got this money, this is what you're gonna do with it.
Yeah.
Okay, do you need anything from us for that? Like, I mean, do we need to kind of just take a soft vote, yes, we wanna go ahead and try, just to figure it out, or?
I would like a general consensus for me to engage Mr. Gleason to write a formal resolution, to move forward, and then to bring you an actual resolution on the 24th.
Okay, so is there anyone that is opposed to doing that?
Yeah. And no, I'm for it. Just want to make a comment too, so that there's someone expressly interest. We're just not doing this just to put it out there. There is interest in the property.
Yes.
So doing this and taking on the legal, going through the legal process is not just because we want to do it. There is explicit interest in the property.
And you guys have had interest for a few years. I know there was a brewery a few years ago that showed interest, and it didn't pan out, but there's been interest over the years. Because as Ashley said, Beecher's a popular place. They hear about the principal at the high school and just his goofy pants and.
Probably elementary schools, we do everything.
It might have been the last
I
principal.
mean, Mrs. Biesterfeld in elementary school went.
That's true.
Maybe we can earmark her some new costumes or something.
Absolutely. So, all right. How about just it's not nothing for me. I mean, you can theoretically it's on there. You can make a motion to instruct Dr. Gaham to move forward with engaging Mr. Gleason in the resolution. Or you can just.
That's not in red.
Can we just get a thumbs
Or
up?
just give me a thumbs up.
Well, that's why I kind of asked, was there anyone opposed? I mean, if that, because if there's nobody opposed, then yes, move ahead. Because it would be the only one you say, okay, if we have someone having one, that's still outvoted, so.
I just don't want to spend
Yeah,
more
time and
money
energy and
then-
effort,
Okay.
yeah.
Then I will engage Mr. Gleason tomorrow at the mezzanine hall.
Okay. Next up is other discussion items. So first up, our e-learning plan, which will be at our budget hearing, but, right?
Yeah, so every 3 years, you have to renew this. So 3 years ago when I was superintendent, we put it out there. ROE requires us to just formalize that we have a plan in place. I walked through it with the principals. I've sent you guys actually I sent you the link. We updated it to what it now says. I think it's K1 has 2 through 8 has their Chromebooks, so on and so forth. So we updated all those things. Remember, this is no more than 5 days a year. As I told you last year, I'm that mean superintendent that I still give kids snow days. If there's 2 days that's bad in a row, you're gonna have a snow day, and I'm sorry, staff will have to go an extra day in the summer. But it's on, if you want to see it, it does say tentative e-learning plan on the website. Because it had to be posted and put in the newspaper. Everything has to go in the newspaper, I tell you. It was in there Thursday, so it has to be in there for 10 days before you can vote on it. So we'll put it on the special board meeting on the 25th.
Okay. And then the high school therapy dog.
So this is, I want to call it a quasi-passion project I had 2 years ago. As I said, I've said it twice now. End of the month, I'm going down to Springfield, and that's where all the superintendents are. And there's a lot of cool sessions you get to go to, similar to Triple I when you guys were there. And one of the sessions I went to 2 years ago was, it was kind of the time during the pandemic's kind of over. We're now having a need for SEL. What are school districts doing? And a lot of school districts have started looking at therapy dogs. And when I first went in there, they're like, hey, this is what we do, so on and so forth. I loved it. I had the passion for it. I was going to try to bring it to Beecher. The first thing you have to do is find a Beecher staff member who's willing to take on the animal, and well, that didn't go over so well because nobody wanted to take it on. And so I kind of kept it in the back of my mind. This past year, Mr. Sarseny has approached me because he now has an additional licensure that he's been working on, and he's really started to embrace, I shouldn't say it that way. He is, I know I joke around with Steve a lot, he is a phenomenal person. He cares about kids a lot. And so this is something that now is kind of his passion project as well, and he's come forth and said, hey, I would really like to be the one that gets trained on this, to take care of the dog. So I reached out to a few people to make sure, before I brought it to you, that I'm not wasting anybody's time, other than my own potentially. Mr. Gleason said, if you would have asked me 5 years ago, I would have had trepidation. He goes, every attorney that he works with now has zero concern about this, because all the concerns that they potentially had have never come to fruition. As long as your insurance company is fine with it, we're fine with it because you have the coverage. I reached out to Ryan Dole through ESSIC, and he said, is the dog going to be trained? I said, absolutely, it's a year-long training. Will the handler be trained? 100%. He goes, will the animal be the not insensitive, I'm going to say words, don't get offended. Property of the school district. I know it's an animal, it's love, it's cute. It's going to be a property of the school district, yes. So even Ryan Dole said there's no insurance cost to it. It does not increase our insurance rates at all. I thought that was, I was shocked by that. So the cost to the district would be $4,000 for the animal. And then the only other thing Mr. Gleason would require is that we create a contract, which I've already engaged with Mantino, because they have one at every one of their buildings. They did one initially 3 years ago, 2020. I talked to Lisa today, 2020, they were skeptical, they did one. She goes, in 2 years, every one of their buildings had one because everybody wanted one. The amount of positivity it creates with kids, she goes, is second to none. There are very few things that I can get superintendents to tell me they're passionate about. This is one of those things. And so I asked her, what are some of the concerns your board had when I bring it to mine? And she obviously said the allergy thing. And she goes, whenever people fill out Power School, allergies are listed on there. It's required that you put it on there. So you just make sure that, and the nurses know a lot of those, you just make sure that the dog isn't around those kids, it doesn't go into those classrooms. Where does the dog stay? During this day, it stays with its handler, Mr. Sarseny's office, so it's going to be primarily in the office, and then as needed, Mrs. Horlacker would be the secondary handler, and she's also our social worker here, so we would have both of them at the high school ready to go forward with that. Some of the questions she got was, who handles it if it has an accident in the school? And her answer is the same as mine, the handler, because it's their dog. The school district's responsible for the vet bills, things like that, but that's also part of the $4,000 initial payment. We would send Mr. Sarseny, and we would pay for his training. It would be in March or May. Mike, do you remember?
I'm not for sure.
Definitely started with an M.
Yeah.
So, again, I'm telling you where I would like to go with this. This is not a motion. I plan on hopefully finding another session, if not at the end of September, definitely a AAA in November to get more information on this. If Mrs. Harold from Mantino, the superintendent, has also offered to come to this board meeting and talk to you personally about her experiences at Mantino with a therapy dog.
Therapy dog.
Oh, dogs, yeah, dogs. I mean, as in us getting, we're only gonna have the one.
We're getting one.
Um,
Yeah,
Dog
and-
go.
I'm saying,
Yeah, and the question was asked, why are we doing the high school? Why, it should be an elementary thing? Because you need to have a handler who wants to take it on, and all due
Who
respect,
wants it?
I don't, yeah, if Steve's passionate about this, I don't see why we wouldn't start with someone who's passionate about kids, passionate about this, and we have a secondary person here as well. Go ahead.
Well, I would feel better with starting it with some older kids too, and seeing, I mean, I had a daughter that kind of picked a college because they had therapy dogs there, I'm just saying. So we would get an already trained dog
Yes.
from a certified
Yep.
training. so
Cares
on.
Inc. is
Got
the
it.
company that Steve has engaged with. They're
Got it.
based out of Kansas. But yeah, the dog is trained for a minimum of a year for everything that is required of them.
And can we also have the dog come to board meetings?
Absolutely. Just so you know, Steve Sarsley will put in an hourly time sheet, but yes. No, I would be very happy if this happened for the dog to come
Do you
here.
get, like, with the whole allergy thing, I mean, there's hypoallergenic dogs that help more. Do you get to kind of pick what kind of dog, do you know, or is that something you have to more research about?
I
I mean,
think that's
I would
more
feel
right.
better if it was more
Yeah.
that, I understand, oh, keep the kids' allergies have away, but it'd be better if you could get a dog that was also less allergic.
Yeah.
That would help limit it.
Would we have to do any type of parent approval or, for them to be able to,
So-
to interact with the
So
dog? or-
the seminar I went to, and then Lisa said the same thing, like you make parents aware that it is in there, and you kind of, almost like an opt-out, like, okay, I'm aware there's an animal in the building, I don't want my kid around it, I don't want.
So instead of opting in, you opt out.
Yep, so if they're gonna go visit, Miss Lucia's fourth period English, I don't know why they would, but fourth period English class, if that child's in there, you just have them step out of the room and you do a separate assignment if they're doing something in that. So, yeah.
Okay,
AP test.
so more
AP
information.
test, there we go.
More information to come.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up would be items for the October 9th board meeting. Maybe more information on a therapy dog.
Maybe.
By then, we would probably have some type of bid from Miller and Racine.
Yeah.
By October? You said you'd open it at the end of October, so it'd be November.
Oh, good.
Gotcha.
The two public acts that you guys do every year will be here. That's the certified payroll, administrative costs, and your IMRF, and then the board one as well. It's on the website. It's boilerplate stuff. And then, if you remember, last year we kind of talked about student recognitions, and so Brandon came up and asked me where we're at with this. Do we want to have one board meeting where like the winter sports come so we can tell the parents, hey, earmark this one? Or do we
I
wait
mean,
for
we
them
kind of
to?
discussed that would be easiest because everyone could plan. It's kind of unfortunate that multi-sport kids miss out on certain things because things get scheduled. And I know things get scheduled way in advance, so it's not like it's hard to schedule our stuff because everything's already made for like the next 2 years, according to like sports and state and all that.
Right.
So we would just have to make sure it was enough after the state, and then the coaches would know, hey, they can't have practice this time. Make sure there's not a game.
Yeah.
I think it would be more beneficial to make sure that all kids had an opportunity to be honored.
Well, I think we can do the fall at the November board meeting. But there's, fall sports are that night, but there's not anything else in fall sports would be over by then. So we can do all the fall sports. Junior high doesn't have fall sports. Now there's no other games that I think Brandon mentioned. So we can do the November board meeting of your fall sports that make the state runs. And then hopefully there's a lot there. And then I'll have Brandon kind of look at winter and spring and see what board meeting would work best.
Okay.
So you guys are fine, kind of, that way the families all have the same date. I like that. I appreciate that, and I'm sure the families do as well.
And I know we had talked about, for academics, not until we have the mid-scores for growing. I don't know if we'd want to honor, once they do all of their initial tests, we would have who the top students are academically. I know usually in January, February, we
Yeah.
do the most growth, but we could even still honor the top academic students based on their scores that we even take initially.
Or you could acknowledge, you could recognize your AP 3, 4, 5 winners if you want to do that.
They're in college.
They're gone.
You had APs, you have,
Juniors.
yeah, that's what I'm saying, they're seniors now.
Yeah, I was about to say, they're all in college, they're not coming back.
Most of them are gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
top 10,
Yeah.
or, you know,
Yeah.
top 10 students.
Because I do like making sure that we also
Right.
highlight academics, not just
Yep.
athletics.
Yeah, and then I know Nicole did a nice job last year with the star growth. Yeah, I'm sure we can find something.
I figure that way, I mean, because that's it, you always, I mean, even sometimes your top academics don't show the most growth because it's harder to grow the higher you are. So maybe that's an idea of being able to highlight them also because they work very hard. You know.
Audit October,
Or November.
or November, yeah. McGillesco, he's trying to get it done, so he's gonna be here in October to provide you guys the audit, but we normally do it in November. I've asked him to try to get it done in October, but.
Okay. Okay, upcoming.
we just don't know when.
Yep.
Okay, so then upcoming dates, September 24th is the budget hearing and the special board meeting, October 9th board meeting. November, right before Thanksgiving, is the joint conference. Right off top of your head, does anybody know, like, yes, for sure, I'd kind of like to go, to give a rough estimate, so Mr. or Dr. Graham knows? No?
I'd already stated I cannot this year,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Alright, well, that helps
I got
you
my
a little.
hotel room and my packet coming to me, so. Again, it's always a very good experience and.
And you can still add, I mean,
Oh,
up for
100%.
next month and things like
Yeah.
that, but it gets harder to
Yeah. I'd rather you
things
guys tell me at
closer
the
it
last
gets.
minute so I can get you a badge than.
Book it and cancel.
Yeah, book it and cancel, and then kind of.
Okay, okay.
And the special board meeting is at 5.
Yes, sir.
5 p.m.
In that you'll have the budget hearing, you'll have the special board you'll have the budget hearing, then you have the e-learning plan approval, and then the Miller Racine resolution. Those are the 3 things on that docket.
Okay, okay. So finally, I need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All approved, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. No one opposed. Meeting adjourned.
Principals don't like when you don't go to executive session, they don't get to leave early.